I just want to say thanks again for starting kicking this thing off because I think this could be something that could be recurring, and so I think sometimes you just need that catalyst. And Rymar, you're awesome at for putting this together.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah, I appreciate that. I have been wanting to do a lot more of this. I'll share a little bit about, but I did a lot of this in the Webflow world and even in the WordPress world. And there's so much value to be had here in learning these tools and sharing these skills that figuring out ways to create these types of things has always been high on my radar for, especially once I get into a tool. Once I start doing something meaningful with a tool and start seeing, oh, it's real value here. It's not just a pretty wrapper, or it's not just like this thing that I played with for a couple hours. It's like when I'm spending hours and hours of my life in this thing, and like my work is questioning whether I'm actually doing work for them or whether I'm like doing my own stuff. It's like, hey, what's going on over there? I'm spending $1,000 a month in Replit, or $600 a month in Replit, or I don't know what people's numbers are like, but I'm spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month on this stuff. So I'm like, okay, and I'm getting really cool results. It's okay. Maybe other people need to know about this. Yeah, that's just, I don't know what. There's a piece of me inside that just has to do that when I run into those types of situations. So,
yeah, ever since I discovered Replit, I think it was September of last year when Agent V1, I think, was just live for a couple of months, maybe, or I don't know. And even the pace of advancement of Agent and the tool itself and the platform and everything has exponentially went straight out of the roof, off the roof. It blows me away every time. Matt from Replit posts a new update on Twitter. I'm like, I rush back to the project or whatever project I'm working on, and I'm like mind blown every time. It's crazy. And as mentioned before, it just takes a little bit of patience, resilience to just get past that first stage. A little bit of maybe reading or reviewing what the agent spits out. There is a bit of a learning curve. And once you get the hang of it, then you don't have to be like a programmer to understand the code itself, but understand which files function in what way and how those files come together to make the project happen at the end. And they make it, as far as I can tell personally, accessible to most people so far. Even if you have no coding, no programming background, it just brings all the different tools together to take you from idea to actually a live thing. It doesn't have to be an app. It could be just a live thing that you want to play with or have other people experiment with you, or solving a problem, or an actual app. So yeah, it is pretty awesome.
yeah, and I think we're going to get into that. I see, what's up, Lou just popped in here. He's presenting a little later. Lou and I, there's going to be a blend too. There's like folks from the local Sarasota community, and then there's folks from the global community. So I'll be interested to see. I see a bunch of people popping in. There's 30 plus coming in here. Welcome everyone. If you're just joining us, we're going to give folks 5-ish minutes to trickle in, and we're just having early conversations about Replit and vibe coding and different things. So feel free. The conversation is going to be fairly guided today. We do have an agenda that we're going to follow. It's the one on the Luma event calendar page. So we're going to give this thing till about 12:05 to get started. I'm sharing my screen. You can see the agenda here. We'll set the stage. I've got a couple slides we'll run through here in about 3 minutes. And then we'll have the first presentation at 12:15. Each of the presentations is going to be a 5-minute. I don't have an on-screen clock, so I will give folks a 1-minute warning. I don't know what that's going to sound like, but it probably just like a little 1 minute, or I don't know what we'll do. I should have probably thought about that a little better, but we'll nudge you if you're getting close to the 5 minutes, and then we'll have 5 minutes to have conversation. So if you go over your 5 minutes presenting, you will have less time for Q&A. And again, we will try to stop you. The goal is to deliver the value proposition of what it is you're building. And the focus here is really showing like live apps. And again, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but Hussein, what you were talking about is definitely true, except for I think there's some pitfalls also where you find yourself trapped a little bit. There's always like that technical cliff where you find yourself in no man's land, and then you're like, oh, what do I do now? So those things come up, and I'm sure we'll have conversations about all of that. We'll have 3 presentations, and then we'll have a 15-minute chat with the new head of community here from Replit, Francisco Cruz Mendoza. I think some of you have met him, but others haven't. So we're excited to have him on the call with us and be able to chat. And then we'll go through another 3 presentations. So there'll be a total of 6 presentations over the course of the next hour and a half to 2 hours-ish. And I imagine people will pop in and out of here as we go. So yeah, just give us another couple minutes as folks come in. The slots are all full. So if anybody is applying now, the slots are all full, but we will likely do this again. The other thing I'm thinking of doing is something like a vibe code review. I have been meeting with, and Lou will be up here. Lou, I don't know if you're available on camera yet, or maybe I just can't see you, but Lou and I have been meeting for like once a week for the last few months. I don't know, 5, 4, 3 months, whatever, just to review the vibe code stuff I'm doing. And he's a very technical person. Like he is a full stack software developer working with big teams, big architecture, big infrastructure stuff, has worked at companies like Atlassian and other large companies. And it's been super helpful for me to have somebody like that to be able to go back and forth and ask questions and dig into the vibe code and stuff I'm building. And I've been chatting with him about how do we bring that out to other folks, because I think those conversations would be useful to just understand. It's like I'm fairly naive from a technical standpoint. It's like I know some technical stuff, but I'm still like very early. And then he's incredibly technical. And I think balancing some of that and having that, I think that would be an interesting place for this conversation we start today to continue on. And also it would be cool to figure out how do we track each other's projects as we grow, right? So there's a lot of people that are going to be building stuff as we do things in this space. And so it would be very interesting to be able to go and see, hey, what else are people building, not just here, but next week or the week after, and how did that project go, and how has it evolved, and some accountability and some kind of like progression would be cool to see as this stuff evolves, thinking about all those things that we could do as well. We are right at 12:05. I see there's 50 folks in the call right now. Thank you everyone for showing up. We appreciate you all for being here. I'm going to set the stage a little bit and go through some housekeeping. We are officially going to kick this off right now. And yeah, we'll just take you through a progression of how we got here and what we're doing. And then we'll kick it off with our first presentation in about 10 minutes here. All right. And maybe sooner, actually. We'll try to steal some time on the front end of this. So first of all, I'd like to thank Ethan, Mark, Daniel, Francisco, and Sarasota Tech. We've been doing cool stuff in the local community, but I've also been doing lots of things in the global community for a while, specifically around building and showing people how to build. We talked about this just a second ago, but I'm a buildaholic. I started building in 2012 with WordPress, started blogging in the very early days. I learned Webflow in 2017, and that put me on a whole different career trajectory with building things and working with software teams and like getting into the real world of tech. And then I discovered Replit in that process. And then over the last 6 months or so, with their agent being really powerful, I've just fallen in love with this idea of being able to build real things, not just websites, right? So it started in the website world, blogging and ideas, and now it's like software and processes. And I spent a big part of my last decade building community and teaching people how to do this. And so when I saw people saying, hey, what are y'all building with this vibe code, right? I saw some of these viral tweets and it's, hey, people who are using Lovable, Replit, Bolt, what are you building? Can you share? I see companies doing 100 million ARR and I've yet to see it. And I'm like, yet to see what they're building. And I'm like, I'm building stuff and I'm interacting with people who are building stuff. And it seems like maybe it's just under the shadows a little bit. It's going to take a little bit of time for this stuff to really matriculate out into the market. And so I said, hey, what if we showed them? So I reached out to Ethan and Mark, and I started talking to my buddy Daniel and Colleen and some other folks that are in here. And I'm like, what if we just did this? So here we are. And I think we're in a new era for online builders powered by this AI technology, but I don't think it's this panacea yet, right? We're not in the holy grail of you can just ask it for something. It's going to one-shot Airbnb fully, and then you can deploy it at scale, right? We're in this like progressive area where we've taken the no-code movement and stepped it up, maybe a 10x improvement or a 100x improvement, whatever it is. But it still really requires a little bit of technical knowledge. It still requires a little bit of knowing how computer systems work and like how the web works and all these things. And so there's some hurdles to overcome. And that's how I'm going to set this up. The good, the bad, the ugly, and vibe code. Obviously, we're in blue sky territory here, green pastures in front of all of us for online creators. And I don't think there's ever been a better time to build things online or to be tinkering with these tools. That being said, there are tons of security vulnerabilities and implications and technical hurdles that come with a lot of this stuff. And because so many people are building with this, it's going to make it more and more difficult to get your tool discovered. And so it becomes very difficult to break above the noise. And like now everyone can build an app. So it's going to be more difficult for your app to be like meaningful for anybody. And so there's all these other intangibles that now come with figuring out how to get your product to market and how to scale your idea and how to sell things. And so like building is no longer the hurdle. It's going to be about distribution. It's going to be about community. It's going to be about value, about all these other things. And then the ugly side of this is that many people are going to be disappointed, right, as this process goes, because there's all this hype about these products and the things that you can do. But if you run into a brick wall or if you don't actually build something meaningful, then what happens, right? You start to become skeptical. You start to think that, oh, this is all just hype. And then you become a cynical product user. You start dismissing it. And so I think those are like the things we're dealing with right now. And I imagine we'll talk about all of those as we go through this. But for sure, these are exciting times. So let's get to it. We're going to start the presentations here. Presenters will each get 5 minutes to talk about what they're building, so they can use that however they'd like. If you are in the audience and you would like to share feedback or have a question, you can leave it in the comments, or you can also just raise your hand and we'll call on you to speak. This call is being recorded, so the webinar and everything we're doing right now will be available after the event. We'll post it to YouTube and share links. And we will likely do other things like this moving forward. So if you all like this, make sure to let us know. And yeah, leave your thoughts in the chat. The chat will be open throughout the whole conversation. And yeah, we'll move through it. So with that being said, I think the first one, Daniel, do you want to go through what you're building with your little e-commerce audit panel?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. Rymar again, thanks again. These things are super cool. I'm really excited to meet all of you and see what you guys are building. I'm super enthusiastic about vibe coding, and I started with Rymar. Actually was the first one to introduce me to Webflow in 2018 or something like that. And so ever since I started building, I started designing. I am now head of brand at ecom.ai. That's ekom.ai. And it's a product that allows you to ingest all of your data in an ecom store and give you actionable results. It also helps you rewrite product descriptions in real time based on what people are searching on online. And so I think we're headed into a new era of e-commerce. I built my first e-commerce store in probably about 20 years ago. I only sold a few t-shirts, but the funny part about it is I was just on Instagram and I got an ad for my same idea that I had 20 years ago, which was like a custom music. Like you type in your song and it prints you a shirt with the lyrics or the music notes, hence the piano behind me. And so I'm really excited. I'll give you a quick demo of what I built just in the last few days. This is a tool that allows you to type in, it's API agnostic. And it basically, regardless of what store you're using, it audits your store and it brings in all of your product information, your SEO results, some security stuff. This is one of our clients, BillyReed.com. And so they have 3,100 products. And when you have such a large catalog, it's really hard to know for a human to be able to come in there and be like, okay, this is good and this is not. And so this is an excellent use case of AI where it can scale hundreds, if not thousands of product data rewrites in just a few seconds. So here it noticed that there's 1,200 products that have improper metadata. How much money is this client losing every single day because they don't have the right product data? And so the overall quality score is 60. There's some other interesting like performance metrics and SEO analysis and other things like that, some priority action items. And within this, I love tools like this because it also acts like a lead funnel. And so when you click schedule a demo, it actually goes to, here's Jonah, he's the head of growth at Ecom, and you could instantly meet with him, get onboarded to the platform, ask any questions and things like that. But I'm really excited about what the future has in store. There's even like an admin panel that I built in here. Let me see if this is working, hopefully. Yeah, so the admin panel shows you all of the search results that people have been putting in. I've just been sharing this a little bit here and there. And yeah, I'm really excited about this kind of stuff. I think that we're headed into, I truly believe that these next 5 years are going to be so transformational that it may, 5 years from now might be totally different than the last 10 years or 50 years, who knows? So if anybody out there is in the e-com space, they want a free audit, happy to send you a link. If you are just getting into e-com and you have any questions, happy to help. And yeah, I'm just going to stop there and open up some questions. And again, thanks, Rymar. Appreciate the times.
Yeah, I'm just seeing some people were saying they can't see the screen. It may have been because there were multiple. I think I might have still had my live stream or my screen share. So in the top of your Zoom screen, there's tabs. And so there may be different people presenting at different times. We'll try to keep that cleaned up. But in case you miss the screen share, you should be able to see that at the top by clicking on the person presenting screen. Hey, Daniel, this is cool. So tell me what's happening on the back end here. You are running what? Like what's happening in Replit?
Sure. Just sharing my screen again.
Can you try a different URL here? Try strikegently.co or try some.
Strike Gently?
Yes, strikegently.co, I think is what it is.
Let's see. Oh, hold on. So I wanted to take like a light approach to this. And so there is no API calls. There's nothing. What I asked it to do is find me a crawler that could go into the sitemap and populate and count all the items, all the page items within the products category of the site. And so, yeah, like it just counted 5,300 products. This looks like maybe there's an error here. I'm not sure. I might have to like investigate why it's zero metadata. Maybe it's not bringing in the approach, but this was like a really fast, super like prototype way of like creating something, like taking an idea that I had in my mind and like throwing it out without having to go through complex API calls or something like that. And again, for me, my intention to this is to capture leads. So if I were to run an ad on something like this would be the place where I'd want people to land and start collecting data and start seeing, does this product, like where can we add some value here to the users that are searching for this kind of thing?
Got it. Is it like, do you know if it's using like Puppeteer? Is it using?
Yes.
Oh, and Mark, I see you got a question too. Go ahead if you want to chime in there.
Yeah, thanks, Rymar. So Daniel, this is really interesting. One of the questions I had was something that Rymar just alluded to was, how long does it take for the audit to typically run? Is it that quick?
Yeah, it is. So I do have some domains that are catched in here that I just have been doing. So like they're pretty much ready to go. But yeah, that one that Rymar just asked for, I don't believe I had catched. And so
Wow, that's fast.
Yeah, it's super fast. And so I'm not
try federknives. Hang on, I'm gonna give you a new, let's see, it's federknives.com. Yeah, federknives, federknives.com.
And if anyone has a store they want audited live now, put it in the chat.
Yeah, now's your chance. Drop it in the chat. So yeah, this analyzing button is in real time, and yeah, it looks like it. I've never tried this domain before. It looks like they're running Shopify. They have 600 products in here, and it looks like there's a lot of room for growth. Maybe like the products are also, don't forget there's variations and things like that. I'm not sure how accurate this is, but I am in the process of just putting in as many data points as I can. And when it doesn't bring up a result or the way that I want it, I just talk to the agent and I type in the domain and I ask the agent, hey, I'm not getting the proper search results here. Why? Is it like a custom platform, or what can we do to address this? And you do that enough times to the point where you have a really robust system in place that doesn't need any API calls to work.
Yeah, it's interesting. Does anybody else have questions or thoughts? I see the value of this in like an immediate lead gen type thing, like you were saying. I wonder about, again, the accuracy of some of that stuff. I'd be interested to know from a technical standpoint if somebody's watching, if they have any insights or thoughts here about what to be improved. I'd also be interested to know, how can you plug this into the next step of their thing? What's your next plan for this? Do you have any ideas for what you're trying to do next with this?
Yeah, so my original intention was to have this be a landing page for a lookalike audience. So right now I'm compiling some of our customer data with some of our prospect data, and I'll be running some lookalike ads. If anyone's interested in lookalike ads, I'm a huge fan of the Meta ads platform. And so basically what it does is you put in X amount of emails and it matches your ad with similar behaviors, similar demographics. And that gives you a really fast track to, if you're starting a product from scratch, it gives you a fast track to find some validation. If you're selling a product, this is a really good low cost way to bring in some high quality leads. And so my intention of this is to be the precursor to the actual product. So like ecom.com has an engineering team. They're working like on really big, robust products. And I'm not going to come in there and mess with their code. And so this is a way where I can basically get some leads in and then onboard them onto the real product that we have.
Got it. Great. Okay. That's the first presentation. I like that. Nice shot there. What's up?
Thanks,
I see
guys.
Josh Lowe in the house, Digital Third. I see Colleen. Give some shout outs. Hello, Francisco's in the house. What's up? Lou Franco's in the house. Hello, Steven, Bruce. I'm going to just shout the folks who have their cameras on. Nimesh, hello. Todd, Jennings, what's up, everyone? And thanks to the rest of you folks for joining in here, too, even though you don't have... Oh, I see Brandon. What's up, buddy? Dave Leland in the house. Hi, everyone. It's cool to see everyone here. Yeah, thanks, Daniel. That was a great little intro to the project here, or to the show and tell. I think that's a good start. I'd be interested... The next presentation is going to be Lou. Lou, are you ready to go? Yep. Okay, cool. So Lou is going to share how he's been working with his nephew to build games. Then he's been playing outside of Replit and then just recently came into Replit. But like I mentioned before, Lou has a very strong technical background. And so, yeah, I'll be interested, Lou, to see what you're up to.
Okay, so I just want to give some background before I show you what I'm going to show you. I have been meeting with my nephew approximately weekly for about a year or so, and we do old school vibe coding, which basically means he tells me what he would like to see and then I program it manually. As far as he's concerned, he's vibe coding. It's just incredibly slow and error prone and so forth. So we've been using a product called Glitch. Some of you might be familiar with it. It's like basically collaborative program editing. It's not AI at all, but they're essentially I'm not gonna say they're out of business, but they've discontinued all of their products. But in the meantime, I've been seeing what Replit can do through Rymar, and what some things have been in the back of my mind about it being a better way to do the kind of collaborative programming I want to do with my nephew. So the first thing I noticed when I went in and Rymar invited me in is this is like a real programming environment. So I use all of the whatever tools, IDEs, Xcode, VS Code, and so forth. And feels the same to me. Like it has the same keystrokes, has the same features. It has integrated Git, integrated previews. It's really, I did not find it to be any kind of step down from what I need as a regular coding developer. And so right away, like I filed away, I need to check this out when I'm going to look at more AI assisted programming. I do use Cursor in my day job, but for something with collaborative development, web-based collaborative development, I wanted to check it out. So when Glitch went away, I said, okay, I'm going to bring one of the projects that we've been doing, I'm going to bring it into Replit, see if it works. And then the next time I meet with my nephew, I'll show him around Replit, and then maybe we try to add some features with the agent. So I'll just show you. So what do? We make games, 2D games with Phaser.js. It's a physics-based game engine. In the past, we made Space Invaders, we made Lunar Lander, we made a platformer, Asteroids, I think, type thing. I don't remember. But the game I'm going to show you now is a 2-player soccer. So let's share my screen. So can you all see that? I've got Replit up, I've got the preview on the right, code over here. And I kind of want to show you, so I brought almost all of this code is just code I wrote in Glitch. And I'll just quickly just show you that all these players are movable with keyboard controls. It's meant that and I'll just do this one. So my nephew made all the sprites, made all the sounds. We talked about how to tile grass, and he made all those things, and they're over here. These are animation sprites. He made those on his computer. But the way we built this is after we had built a bunch of games, I decided to do it more like we would do real programs. So I'm introducing him to the idea of a backlog. So we created this together. This is like all the things that you would need to do in order to make this game. And in the beginning, obviously, all these X's were not there. And then we just sequenced it in a way we thought made sense. And then I just went step by step and showed him how to do each one. This is going to be the basis. So now we're going to be doing another game, totally in AI from scratch. It's going to be a swim meet kind of game. So like with swimmers and in a swim meet, and we're going to build this ourselves and then see how the AI can help us do that. I'm going to do it right in this project when I do it so that we can watch step by step how it's being built. Because the idea is not necessarily to build these games. The idea is I'm trying to build a programmer, my nephew. So like I'll just show you that these players, can you see these forward players and the goalkeepers, I built that, but the midfield players, the AI built, and I did that over here. If you look at these prompts here. So this is the prompt I used to get this guy, which I basically just said, put a midfield player in that's just like that player, but use these keys to move him around. So that's that. See, this guy here is moved by F and H, and that's forward and back. And then I did the same with this one. Oh, sorry, I did this player first. So this one is JI. Sorry, that's that one. So AI built these two players by looking at those. And what we do is I give them a little AI prompt, and then I take them over to the commit. And here, this is one built by AI, and I show him what got built. How did this actually get made? So this is a really good teaching environment. We got collaborative editing, we have Git with diffs to see, so he can learn, okay, the AI did it, but we're gonna learn what it did and do the kind of programming that I do now most of the time, which is AI generated me reviewing. And so I review every line of code that the AI ever writes, and that's what how I'm introducing him to programming. So that's my project, and thanks for listening. If you have any questions, let me know.
Yeah.
Lou, you got someone in chat giving you a fun time there. Matt says that as a Brit, the correct term is football.
And I am gonna go back in, show you that I agree. And if you look over here, I did it. It is called football. I'm just, for my audience here, I figured it.
That's
Go
funny.
ahead. Any other questions? Anybody?
How I think this is like an undervalued angle on Replit, because I also find myself learning and asking the agent very often. And this is a hack. I don't know if anybody uses this, but I'll turn on advanced thinking and the advanced model and then just ask it to talk to me and not write any code so that it gets the full context and scope and then explain things to me. And then once it has the context, I'll go in and do whatever I need to do. But I can talk with the agent a little bit. And I imagine I'm having it do something like what you're doing here, where it's explain to me something or let me use this more of a teaching tool. So how might people take advantage of this, like to learn rather than just also building? Like any tips you might have for that?
Definitely look at the diffs, right? Okay, I'm going to tell you the number one thing you should do, and this is how I do all of my programming, is small steps at a time. It is so cool that the AI can do one shot, build a whole thing. Totally cool. If you're prototyping and you don't care, you're doing true vibe coding, you don't care, go at it. But when you're going to start building a real thing that you really care about, that you want to actually know the code of, and if you can, if you're like me, go in small steps so that you can ingest this code a piece at a time. Because if you're going to read all of it, you don't want to have to read 10,000 lines all at a time, all out of context. What you want to do is what developers do to each other in code reviews, which is they provide a series of commits, telling a story, a serial story over time, building up to that larger and larger code. If you can learn just that, stay in the agent, don't write any code, but generate that code bits at a time, steps, and then start learning what those steps are doing a little at a time. It's going to be a lot easier than, oh, I'm going to throw you 100 express routes, talking with embedded SQL in them, talking to a database, and your React all at the same time. Great, it did that. And if that's what you want to do, staying in true vibe code mode, fine. But if your intention is to learn what all that was, I would go a lot fewer, I'm not going to say slower. I find this to be incredibly fast, way faster than I am programming. But at the end of the process, I know the code because I learned it a piece at a time, and it's tractable in my brain, and I'm building it up from smaller and smaller pieces to bigger pieces that I always understand. So
I think that's probably a good point. I've heard a lot of people talking about not knowing the code, right? And there's a big thing when you're writing code or when you're building something, you know the thing you're building, right? If you know the plans, you know the scope, like the features, but when the AI is building it, you don't really know those things, and you don't know what's in what file and where things are actually like happening. And so what you're saying is start to try to understand some of those things and keep a context yourself of what is the agent doing and how is this thing actually working, huh?
Yeah, and just smaller pieces.
Right.
It's going to make it possible.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's great. First two presentations down. We're doing great on time. I happen to be the third one. I'm going to present something I've been building on my end. So let me share my screen. And I will start my own clock here. Okay, share. All right. So I build a lot. Like I'm a prolific builder. I'm always tinkering. I have probably way too many domains that I should have. Like I'm just always building things. And I'm going to actually log out from this first. And so a lot of times, like the first thing I do when I get an idea is let me go see if the domain's available. And I'm a web guy. I started building in WordPress long ago. And so I understand the value of building things on the web. But I often don't want to stand up a full website for a thing that I'm doing. But I want to segment an audience. I want a place where I can put ideas or things, especially now that I'm like vibe coding. Somebody said the other day, vibe coding is the new blogging. And that really resonated with me. And I started thinking like, okay, if I'm vibe coding and that's the new blogging, like what does my blog look like? Because I have all these distributed web properties now. And even in the Webflow days, like I have that's not what I wanted to click. Let me open a new tab. If I go to Webflow and I go to Rymar here, I have all these clonables that I made over the years. And it's like all these different web properties. Like for instance, this one here is a YouTube clone and it's been cloned a couple thousand times. This thing does traffic. It's like getting great SEO from Google. And I have all these projects. And now I have these, in addition to these, like all these Webflow clonables, I have vibe code projects that I'm building, and I have the little local community that I'm building, and I have a video that I do over here, and I have this like stuff that's just everywhere. And we're all familiar with a link tree. Does everybody know what a link tree is? It's like a easy, okay. So I took the concept of a link tree and I was like, what if we turned a link tree into more of a portfolio style website that I could not only like post stuff on, but what if we could network them? What if we could make them social? So I'm using this for our local community as well. So let me go to my profile here. And what you can see is if I'm on mobile, this is what people are going to get, which is basically just a little Linktree profile, a little portfolio site that links out to wherever it is that I'm going, but also gives me the ability to add interactive content. So I can have embedded video from YouTube here that will play in line if I want it. I can have stuff from YouTube. I can have URLs that go anywhere I want, but I can also participate in a network. And these networks become like open bulletin boards. So right now, if anybody were to go to this, to Sarasota Tech, and you wanted to submit something that would post on our bulletin board, you can now post to this bulletin board. Because I'm also a community builder. And I also understand that social media has been a single player game for a long time. And a lot of the value of what comes from community is like this multiplayer game. And a lot of times, for instance, in our Sarasota Tech community here, we've built this big audience. There's lots of like people that are interested to know what we're doing, but we're the only people that can publish that audience. But it is a community, right? And so like, how do we build a showcase page, a place where like I can show stuff, somebody else can show stuff, and then we can kind of network these different distributed properties together into a single place. And so that's what I've built here. And let me log in. And this is something I've been building for a few months now. So it's got a custom feed that then again just pulls in from random people. I've done things like build sample profiles for Amjad here. He's in our LinkCloud here. But this would just be his little profile, but maybe inside of that we have these networks. And these networks, again, are people that I want to invite to contribute. And so I could come in here now and I can invite folks into this network and they become contributors or they become an admin, and that gives them the ability to then curate this post here. And because we have public submissions, I now have the ability to curate submissions that could come in from the back end. And so anybody from our community or anybody that's participating in this space can come to the site, say, hey, I have an event you might be interested in, or here's a Replit resource that somebody created. So maybe there's a video. This is a tweet from Ethan the other day. And so like you can start showcasing not just the stuff you want to showcase, but like the stuff your community's doing on a branded page that then drives traffic back to you as like an individual user. And there's another facet of this too, where it's, since I'm building these things that live outside of this platform, for instance, these Webflow clonables, like how do I close the loop on these audiences, right? So it's like I have this link tree, this thing that I build on my site, but what happens when they end up on this property? This little powered by Atmos, this little widget here is also tied to this platform. So if I come back here and I go into my widgets, what I can see is that I have, let's see, the one I was just looking at is maybe the RT network widget. And I have the ability to manage a unified call to action across all of these websites. And I can see the analytics for that. What's interesting is this can actually talk to Webflow, so I can design the way that the interface looks like in Webflow and manage this call to action. So if I'm back here and I go to my Webflow test widget and I edit this and I say, hello, vibe code showcase. And if I had a new image, I should have maybe had this set up a little nicer to do this. But if I refresh this in real time on this Webflow site, the call to action that I just updated is live on this website now. So I could have this across 50 different websites, 100 different websites, whatever I want this thing to be, and it's going to update that call to action. And what's more interesting is that this is now like being tracked. So not just when this like click happens, but you'll see on the bottom, widget view tracked. So I'm getting analytics now. And if I click on this, as I go into my back end here, I have a full suite of analytics on what's happening across these widgets, what websites are driving traffic, where the traffic is coming from. Each widget itself has universal analytics, and then I can really just see on a nuanced basis, like, where is this traffic coming from? What are they doing? And so I'm taking like Linktree, social media, and HubSpot and trying to blend those things into a unified thing for online builders and digital communities. That's my time. I'll open it up to Q&A. But yeah, this is something I've been tinkering on, very excited about, because we're actually using this. And it's actually connected to, I didn't show you that, but if I go into my subscribers, it's connected to my ConvertKit here. So as people can subscribe, and when one clicks subscribe to these profiles, it's sending emails, it's adding them to my workflows. I've got this integrated, so I can now stand up one of these little network pages, put that with one of my like email subscribe forms, and start collecting emails around a specific topic. That then the next goal is going to be like letting people dictate how they want to receive information about that. Do they want a daily email? Do they want a weekly email? Do they want a monthly email? Do they want certain topics, certain creators? So anyway, yeah, I'll stop now, and that's what I'm building. It's amazing to me that I was able to build this by talking to a robot. This is unreal. The script that's like running the JavaScript. Digital Third, Josh, what's up? I see you got your hand up. What's going on, brother?
Hey, you can hear me? It's all good?
Yep.
Man, amazing. This is really cool. I want to know, what's the tech stack? I see that you're connected to Webflow, and then you could update it live. Are you connecting Make or?
No, this is all, it's all baked into the cake here. This is all running custom node server that I've built. The UI, everything has been hand touched by me and organized by me. And this is all like what happens is there's a little widget. So if I come in here and I go into my widgets, you'll see a little script here. So just like you would take any script on your site, you would just embed. And I wonder what's happening. It looks like some of my analytics may not be properly reporting because I'm getting zeros on some of those. But yeah, you just embed it like you would any other widget on your site, any little JavaScript or tracking code or something like that. One line before the body, and the widget then appears, and then you customize the widget from your dashboard in here and display that wherever you want.
Okay. And then for auth login, what kind of?
It's using Passport, so it's using just its own auth layer on the back end here. Yeah, and I see somebody has requested access. Actually, I probably shouldn't go to that screen because it's going to reveal emails. But while we've been on the call, like I've gotten notifications that someone has requested access here. Yeah, the auth is handled by the agent. I'm not using the Replit, like their big baked in auth, because I built this before that was available. But this is using just, I think it's called Passport.
Okay, cool. Thank you. That's crazy.
Yeah, any other questions here? What's up?
I've got a question for you. This is definitely foreign to me on like the community building. This is really cool. And I guess first, like, how did you have this idea? And then like, how long did it take you to build this out? I don't even have context on what would go into this.
This is the third iteration of something I've been dreaming of for a while now. So if I go here to this thing called, we used to call them link feeds. And we had this little browser extension that would create these feeds. And I wanted these to be more like profiles. And I'm also a curator. So for a long time, I've been thinking about, I ingest all this information on the web. How do I curate this for other folks and then make it usable for them and like when they need it? And so this has just been something I've been thinking about for years of like, how do you organize some of these things? This started with a little browser extension that would send stuff to Webflow. And so I was trying to connect directly to Webflow to use Webflow as a CMS. But that creates like lots of complexities and lots of other things that would just be easier solved by having a profile page that just has a feed. And we're also entering this area where like social is becoming cluttered. So I think people are going to want like small private social network type stuff where it's like just focused on these 50 people that I trust are talking about this one thing that I'm really interested. I want to know about that. And I don't want to see ads and other stuff. And I just want those things. So that's where the idea started. And then this is just like the most latest iteration, but this is months and months of me slating. If you looked at my Replit log, it would be, yeah, it would be pretty wild.
That's what I was imagining, because this is pretty in depth. And I saw the number of files that you had in the directory, and I'm like, wow.
This is where, again, I'm for sure pushing the limits of the platform, I imagine, and the context. So it always surprises me when it just keeps doing stuff. It's, oh, this is just going to like actually still do this, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one idea is I've been, especially when I get bigger apps, when I'm putting together bigger apps like that are pretty built out, I'll often have Replit Agent refactor so it's more organized, and it's done a really good job on doing that. So if you start running into problems where it's not able to do things, like it was super valuable a couple months ago where it was really unusable until I refactored, and then it could
Yeah.
go through the folders.
Yeah, and sometimes the refact, like I asked it to do something the other day where I was like, I wanted to improve performance, but there's so many different things touching other stuff now that I'm not sure the refactor, I don't know the agent would actually execute on that refactor at this point. But yeah, I'm going to keep pushing it. And this is where you run into some of that. And we're going to go to Francisco. We'll queue you up in approximately 2 minutes here. But this is where we get into some of the ugly of this, where it's like, I could see myself getting into a position where I start thinking this is a real product. I start marketing this, people start using it, and we get 50 users, let's say, and next thing something goes wrong, and these people have trusted me, and maybe they've given me money or something, and I don't know how to fix that problem. This puts me in a very precarious position as a founder, as a person trying to build on this. And this is part of that, like the ugly side of this vibe code thing, where it's, you might think you're flying, but really like you're not off the ground just yet. And I don't know how to deal with that. That's still a thing that lingers in the back of my head that I'm like, how do you solve for that? So that's a complexity.
Yeah, that's a real thing, Rymar. I actually had that experience with, thankfully, not a paid user app. And I see Steven has a question, but one of my apps made it into the Replit newsletter, and it got tens of thousands of visitors in a matter of 30 minutes to an hour. And so basically it took the app down. But thankfully I learned in that experience while I was going through that, I went into Replit agent, gave it as much information as I could, and we resolved the issue. But one of the things I think people can learn from my experience and others is test as much as you can, but don't be afraid to get your idea out there, because even large apps and large websites have issues. So get your idea out there.
Yeah, and as long as you're not breaking the money, but we'll see. Steven, you had a question?
Looks like you're on mute.
You're muted, Steven.
There we go. I wrote a reading program that will take a child up a year in 10 hours of tutoring. And the kids want something more than just Aesop's fables. So I believe I've played with Replit on the free version. It looks like it can take normal type and turn it into Rocket Phonics type, which is great. If I do the paid version, do I get to download the product I want, or does it always stay on the servers there?
Any of the code you build in Replit, you can sync with GitHub and deploy wherever you want, just like there's no lock-in as it comes to the code. Obviously, if you want to use the agent, or if you're using any of the proprietary tools, like you'll be restricted to using that inside of Replit at whatever paid tier you're at. But as far as like the output of that, I don't see any limitations or guardrails on being able to export that somewhere else or use that wherever you want it.
So where do I go to click download?
That doesn't work that way in that sense. You probably have to link it to GitHub or have some other repository. So yeah, you could sync it with GitHub. There's a tab in your Replit UI that will allow you to connect it with GitHub. And from there, you could push that repo to GitHub, which is, you don't own it. You could download the file then from GitHub as a hard zip file. But if you want to deploy it or use it, then you need to be connected to the internet, or that those files need to be hosted somewhere so that you can access them. So there may be some other technical stuff there that that you need to think through.
Steven, this is, just so you know, this is a discussion that's come up in the official Replit community as well, the forum. And so if you wanted to go in there and chat with others, I'll put a link in there, and you can ask these type of questions and we help each other out. That's maybe a little segue into later segment, but just wanted to let you know that we do a lot of this asynchronously as well, offline.
Yeah, and Gordon, we're going to get to your question here in a sec, but we do have Francisco from the Replit team. He's their new head of community, just coming on, I imagine, to a minefield of excitement and interest in the product. Thanks for taking a few moments to stop in and chat with us, but maybe give us a thought, a little bit of high level, like what's the atmosphere over there as it relates to, obviously you guys are leading the way in the vibe code world. What's the sentiment inside the beast over there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Can you all hear me okay? New headphones, just want to make sure it sounds okay. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm Francisco. I'm so glad to be here. Honestly, I am blown away by how many folks are here already, and just like seeing how many folks are interested. The demos have been amazing. It was really cool to see the soccer demo, or football, excuse me. And Remar, of course, like I've been talking to Remar over the past couple of weeks, and every time I get on a call with him, it goes way longer than I intended, just because he's always working on something awesome. So it was cool to see the full demo. So again, thank you all so much for having me here. Yeah, I just joined Replit. I am coming from Notion. I spent almost 5 years at Notion, about 13 years in community management overall, and just super excited to be here at Replit. In terms of how it is here at Replit, it's moving fast. I've been working in tech my entire career, and every time it's always been a very fast kind of moving industry, but this is something that I've never seen before, but it's very exciting in the best ways possible. And McKelly, who's the president of Replit and one of the leading AI researchers previously over at Stanford, had personally reached out to me about joining the team because he is invested in making sure that we're taking care of our community. I think the team is very much kind of ramping up their efforts and seeing how we can better support the amazing users that are using the tool every day and just finding better ways to highlight them and just make sure they have the tools they need. I think Replit's moving at a very quick pace. Every day it's something new. And it's very funny because like I'm very up to date with a lot of the things that are going on in the AI world just because every morning there's just a flood on our Slack and whatever is going on. But overall, it's very positive. I think that we have some pretty big news and pretty big features coming up over the next couple of weeks that just continue with the excitement. But yeah, it's been great.
What are y'all thinking inside? I know you haven't been on the ground for too long just yet, but what do you guys have channels inside for this type of thing to showcase like what people are building, or how, like when you see stuff on the web or when you see people building stuff, does that end up in a special Slack channel, or how are you guys keeping your finger on the pulse of what people are building?
That's a great question. At Notion, in the early days, I joined when there was like 70 people over at Notion, and anyone put anything anywhere in the Slack channel, and I was like, oh, this is kind of like it here. And I think it was like my fourth or fifth day, I put in like a cool project that I saw, and in like La Croix, which is kind of like water cooler for us. And someone like literally replied to me, we need our own channel for this. It needs its own channel. So now there's a dedicated channel that I've gotten here where we just post like all the cool things that are going on that people are building. And then we also have a community channel. So I already posted this internally. There might be a few folks that join here or there as well. But no, absolutely. And I think one of the things we're really trying to work on is like, how do we better highlight these things, right? Like we see them, but like we want others to see it as well. So I think one of the big goals within the community is just like finding better avenues to share across social and just our different kind of platforms that we already have. So talking to Matt, who you all know, developer relations side of things, and Raina on the marketing side to get a better flow going for that.
Yeah. Yeah, what's it for some of us who are just out in the not San Francisco world? What's it like working at the pace of AI at this point right now in the market with how fast things are moving and being on the inside of a company that's kind of leading the charge in AI software development? What's the atmosphere like, or the kind of the vibe inside the office there?
Yeah, it's pretty intense. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna like sugarcoat it. I feel, especially on the engineering side, it's one of those things that people are very often here till 7:30 on most days. I think our anchor days are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and like Monday and Wednesdays, people are here until 7:30, 8 o'clock. Friday, people start like leaving around 5:30, which I mean, in tech in San Francisco, this is pretty rare to me nowadays. So it's just people are just really dedicated. It's amazing to see. And I feel like every day there's something new, right? So it's what's fascinating to me, and it's again just a testament to what all of you are building in the demos that I'm seeing here. Is just oftentimes we'll be in a meeting and it says, oh, we're planning for this plugin, this is what it does, and then they'll be like, what exactly does it do? Is okay, it does this and this. How much do we pay for it? We pay X. Okay, let's just build our own. Why are we paying for this? And we're constantly just building and using Replit internally to just replace tools, which is fascinating and also just, I don't know, it's very interesting, right? I've never seen anything like that. I've always, whenever someone tries to replace a tool, it's like a 6 month, 1 year timeline. And me and Raymar have been talking about this, where it's just like now, like anyone can almost build anything, right? To a certain degree, and you can prototype faster than ever at the very least. It's just been fascinating to see. This pace is very fast. And even here in just San Francisco in general, like every billboard is AI, every meetup is AI. It's very much a new renowned focus in the area.
Yeah. Mark, I see you raise your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to let everyone know, use the chat if you want to as well, if you're not comfortable coming off of mute. There was a question that came in from Peter. He said, are there any trends in terms of what tech stack builders are using with agent? For example, Flask versus JavaScript.
Awesome question. I will be truly honest with y'all. Raymar, I let Raymar know ahead of time. I have not driven into the technical side of things. I just finished my second week, so I don't have the aggregate data as to who's using what more, but I will get back to you on that. I'm happy to kind of actually check in there and see what folks are saying.
I was just going to add in too that's a good point. I remember you mentioning that you're not on the tech side, but Peter, one thing I would say is, just from my experience, is that I think it's all across the board and in the community. People are that, I know I keep plugging the Replit forum, but the official one, because people are in there discussing these type of things. But that would be an interesting thing, though, I think, Francisco, is to learn what you're seeing, and then maybe like a report, state of Replit type thing would be interesting for the community.
No, yeah, absolutely. And happy to start looking into something like that. And Peter, I just DM you my email in case you want to follow up with me. I'm happy to check that out. But yeah, I think just a better overview of what folks are using. When I was at Notion, one of the things that people like the community often wanted to see was just like, what are others people doing? Like,
Right.
how are others building, and just kind of learn from each other. So that's definitely something we're trying to do more of. I think more build outs is something we're really interested in, just like showcase like how it happens live. We're talking to a couple different folks and partnering to do more of this. Yeah, I think trends is also a huge thing we'll be able to do soon.
Nice. I have another question. What headphones are you using? You said you had nice new headphones. I'm looking at them. I'm like,
Yes.
what is that?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So they are, to some people they are hideous, and so some people they are hideous, and I totally understand if you think that's the case. But essentially, they're called the Nothing Tech headphones. They're focused around design, and I just feel like I'm a big audio person. Behind me, there's too many speakers, but Kef, which is one of my favorite audio brands, tuned them, and that's what kind of got my eyes on them. And they sound great, and they've been really fun.
And are they have the mic in them too? Like they look good from certain angles too.
Yeah, they do have the mic, thankfully.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
I didn't know. I was hoping it. Did I buy headphones without a mic? But I think we're good here, so it seems to be working well.
All right. Does anybody else have another question for Francisco or Replit related or anything? We got just another couple minutes before I see Josh raise your hand. Yeah, what's up, Josh?
I thought I'd bring up the arena idea. If that's
Oh
okay.
yeah, for sure.
So great. Francisco, so Raimar and I host like design competitions, battles. It's all live stream. And it's a really, and what we've done is we featured like top web designers. We focus, it's kind of like esports for web design. And I've been thinking the next set of tournament, I'm thinking of launching in October, is probably to highlight all these vibe code tools and or maybe specifically just on Replit. And I think it's a great way to showcase like the best of the best or just amazing things, having people build live in real time. So it's very entertaining and educational at the same time. But I'm curious if that's something you guys might be interested as a community.
Yeah, potentially. I'd be happy to check it out. I'm going to drop my contact information here at the end, but yeah, please feel free to reach out. Very much interested. I'm very early in, so we haven't developed like all of our event strategy quite yet, but I'm always happy to take a look at things. I'm trying to move as quickly as I can here, but that sounds pretty cool. I think it sounds right up our alley.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and Josh, we have talked internally about doing some live build stuff as a follow-on to this. I think it would be very interesting to do an event where people propose business use cases ahead of time, and then we pick one of those and literally over the course of 2 hours try to build something that solves that business use case. That would be like a really cool event. Yeah, whether we do it through official channels or not, I'm happy to facilitate some of that. And I see Ethan's got his hand raised too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I had a quick question, and obviously this is your like second week, so if you don't really have a great answer, that's fine. I've noticed that Replit can be very polarizing. I've noticed that some people get really mad, and then some people are like, "This is the future," and everyone bow down to the overlords. And I think I'd be curious how you guys think about that, like internally. And obviously, you're new, but how do you deal with those polar opposites ends of the spectrum where some people are extremely happy and some people are like pretty angry sometimes?
Yeah, no, great question. So yeah, I think it's a community. I can only talk so much about it here at Replit, but in community in general, I think it's one of the big challenges, right? I saw that over at Notion as well, saw it over at Startup Grind. And I think it's like the truth lies somewhere in the middle, right? I think there's always like these very loud, like opposite spectrums as to what's going on. Like when I first started talking to Michele here on the Replit side, one of the things was like, I feel like sentiment wasn't the most positive. I think it's because Replit is moving incredibly fast. We talk about how fast things are moving out here, and it's what like typically when people pivot and there's like a big success, it's we pivoted 3 years ago. It's no, they pivoted like 6 months, 9 months ago, right? So they got to make a lot of fast changes to get to where they are today. And I feel like understandably, a lot of the programming or a lot of the things that maybe had shifted previously with Replit have changed dramatically. So sometimes like on the Reddits and excuse me, on the subreddit and like other platforms, people are still adjusting to new changes. So I think it's not just a product like challenge. It's one of the things where it's just like, it's entirely like the entire business changed. So it's just a different audience, and change is tough. Change is always tough. And it's one of the things that I've seen other organizations go through as well. And it can be very challenging, but I think that's why I'm here. It's one of the big reasons is because we really want to reinvest into the community as quickly as we can. And one of the things that I'm hoping to do is essentially kick off like an internal community or a more close-knit community of like Replit builders that I'm hoping to help support, and then like slowly from there expand more out and cover like a much wider user base. So I had some conversations with Mark and Raymar, and actually Ethan, I asked folks like, hey, who should, is there any referrals that anyone I should talk to? Ethan, you were one of them. I don't know if Manny's here. Manny was another. These are folks that I'm trying to get in contact with and just like, how can we support you? Better words like support you to showcase all the good things about Replit. Here, there's over 55 people that are like showing up for a live stream on a Tuesday to learn from each other. And it's incredible what Raymar and Mark and everyone else is putting together here. So it's like, how can we better support and advocate for folks that are doing amazing things and just better showcase the strengths of the tool and everything else that comes with it. But internally, I think we're very much aware of it, and they're very action oriented, and like they're just trying to invest in it as quickly as they can. And a lot of times what I hear is like, hey, Francisco, I know it's like your second week here, but can you do this? Or hey, I know it's your third week here, but can we make Discourse public to everybody? I'm like, give me a little bit of time. Let me get some moderators in place to get some additional support, and then we'll jump right in.
Yeah, and it is crazy, honestly, the speed at which Replit is shipping things. Pretty much my full-time job is in Replit, and I am still sometimes, oh, there's a new feature, like a couple days later, and it's just wild the pace that you're moving at. So big respect to you and the team for doing all that.
Oh, nice. Thank you. And I'll be sure to pass it on. Yeah, it's like a marketing challenge that's so quick. But yeah, I don't want to take up too much time. Raymar, how are we doing?
Just one. Have you built anything yet in Replit? That came in from Colleen.
Yes. Yeah, I don't have it public, but essentially what I did was I host a lot of movie nights. And one thing that was a huge pain for me was like getting the seating chart right, because I like to sit people next to each other that I know have the same kind of movie vibe. I'm more of, hey, did I forget that I'm in a movie theater? Yes. All right, great movie. And there's the people who are a lot more philosophical. How did that movie flow? So I created a seating chart for my local AMC so that I can easily kind of post people in their different seats, and I can easily see it like in a visual format. And yeah, and it's just more of an internal thing, but it was fun. I couldn't believe how fast it took. It was something I wanted for 3 years, and then all of a sudden there it was.
That's cool. Okay, so we're going to go to Isaiah Bollinger next. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that, but Gordon, you had a question, and we jumped over you last time. Do you have a quick question we can answer real quick?
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me okay. I'm just driving on the way home from the office. My question was regarding Replit's, obviously rapid rise. Obviously, I can also echo the excitement when I see a new feature, the queuing of prompts, image generation, and such. Can we expect to see, as and when new LLM models are released, like from Anthropic and OpenAI, can we expect to see those models integrated into Replit? So obviously GPT-5 just come out now. Can we expect to see that as an option to use for vibe coding going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great question there. I can only talk about things too much, as you can imagine. But yes, I think what I will say is the team is constantly exploring every new model, every new tool, and just making sure it works well. I think it's one of the things that we're always doing here is a lot of internal testing. What I can say, there's a fairly large release or something exciting coming up very soon, not too far out into the future, that I think will showcase a little bit more of this. But yeah, absolutely. The team is always focused on making sure that we're trying to stay on top of it.
Nice. And I've seen responses from Michele and also Amjad on X about that, basically saying because it's agentic and some of what they're doing, that they're focused on just making sure it's not just like the newest model, that it's like the complete ecosystem works fully, that the agent is on top of all of the context and that it's integrated with the whole system. And so it's not just, hey, let's plug this new thing in. It's like there's a more unified approach to how they're seeing the AI, from what I've interpreted in questions like that across the social sphere, to answer that or add more context at least. Okay, so the next one is Isaiah. Is Isaiah in the crowd here to present Buddy Board? Maybe not. Going once, going twice. Is Hussein, I know you're here. Do you want to jump the spot? And Isaiah, if you just happen to be out there and slow to respond, we'll queue you up next, but we'll go to Hussein next, who built a shipping CRM for a family-owned shipping company. So yeah, feel free to take over. We'll start the clock, and time's yours.
Awesome. Thanks, man. So can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Excellent. A little bit of context. I worked at this family-owned container shipping business for, I think, close to 14 years. I left the company, mostly worked in the commercial side, business development and sales. And then I got hired back, I think, mid-January of this year. I've been dabbling with Replits for about a year. And when they've seen some projects I've been working on the side. They're like, hey, come over and help us with our sales team first, and then ship some stuff for the rest of the business verticals that they have within the company. So their first, this is what I'm showcasing today, is that CRM and booking portal. So basically what it caters for is the sales and the business development or the booking department. Basically, the landing page or the KPI dashboard is for the managers and the sales manager to see each and every salesperson, their KPIs, how many bookings that they have booked with each and every line or shipping line, how many calls they made, emails, phone calls, and so on. All of the kind of requirements, everything that they have asked for, I sat with them and then sat with, back then it was, I think, GPT 4 or 3.5 maybe. And we had this back and forth based on their requirements. I took the hat of the consultant and then have a Q&A so that I extract all of the requirements, all of the things that they need for that solution to solve for them, so they can have full visibility over not just their sales, but overall their whole business. How many leads they have, how many leads they're assigned to each and every sales rep, the balance between the different types of companies, how many leads are they converting, and what are the different lead sources, so that they can nail down on that lead source to keep them coming and converting to clients. And most importantly, the bookings. If we get to this date range filter and go all the way to just this year, to August of this year today, so they can see how many TEUs or containers that they have shipped, the cancellation reasons with each and every shipping line, so that when they go and negotiate with different shipping lines, they know exactly why bookings have been canceled or for whichever reasons. They know the distribution of the ranking of the different shipping lines that shipping with trends. So when they negotiate rates and negotiate allocations on vessels, they know exactly, they have data back of negotiations. They know the equipment, they know if they open up or have a new service line or service route, they know whom to target, their volumes, the different equipment types, the trade routes. So they know which routes are the top routes and the frequency of the bookings and the total number of bookings, the commodity distribution. Basically, they get to see the different commodities, the segments, and based on every sales rep. So if they want to focus on seasonal cargo, they can just go to this dashboard and then do some filters here and there and extract data instantly. They can basically, this is like a retention/churn kind of dashboard. So they know exactly whom are their active, the VIPs, their occasion and at risk of churn. And the inactive clients, it's just people who have been booking with them through brokers. So if they've been inactive for 60 plus days, they know exactly whom to target, and they can either just low-hanging fruit when it comes to lead that they can just convert to clients. So you have a bookings page with advanced filters. I did have an import booking kind of feature to help them import their historical bookings. I do have also I used to have a manual download backup so they can back up their data, because they're very cautious of losing the data. So when the person assigned to the data backup missed a day or two, I thought of, okay, hey, let's automate that too. So I connected it to their cloud storage, and every day at 11:59 p.m., an automatic data backup just sends the backup straight to their shared drive, so they don't ever miss a backup. And yeah, there's a duplicate checker. One of the things they want a clean database. Before hitting any new company or adding into the database, they can check the duplicate checker. They can see all the kinds of data for each and every lead, every client, and they can convert leads to clients quite easily. It has all the kind of feature that they need. All the dashboards, everything that you see has been built. It took me roughly 3 months to ship this live, and then another 3 with back and forth. Onboarding users took about an hour, and then they were off to the races. And I built this by myself with Agent.
Where does this data live? Like, where's this data coming from? Is this all like their internal systems? Was this just like spreadsheets before? Like where?
Yes.
What kind of systems were they using before? Yeah.
No systems. It was just Excel, all Excel sheets. And then now it's a fully automated system.
Got it. And so
That's
you
amazing.
worked just closely with them hands-on to kind of shape their specific needs as you built this. So this is like,
Exactly. It's my full-time job now. The tech department in the company is me and the Replit agent.
that's amazing.
I'm just
Yeah,
curious,
so
Hussein, what kind of an impact has this had so far? I can imagine going from nothing to this. It's maybe hard to quantify, but I'm just curious if
to give a bit more of context, the company hired a offshore kind of software house agency, whatever, and in a year and a half, they tried to ship something similar. And right before I came on board, the system was like 60% there. And when I came on board, they gave me like a couple of months to show them something. And then the very next week, I showed them the first prototype. And they had their socks knocked out of their brains. 3 months later, they did not believe it. And then today, the GM has a printed version of that CRM framed in his office. He does not believe it because every day he's okay. I want to do this and I want to solve this because I want to extract this data. Interestingly, last month I experimented. Okay, so I remixed through Replit. I remixed that same repo or that same project into another project, so I play around with it without having to touch anything with this. So I embedded a chat GPT or let's say an AI interface within that CRM so that they can query that chat interface to extract analytical data. So that AI, so that's like a chat GPT that lives off of our database and our information, our schemas and all of that business logic, and extracts real-time information in like a business analyst feedback. So instead of having go through the dashboards and do all those filters and extract data from different pages, they can just ask that agent for information. Okay, we have this next vessel. How many bookings do we have, and how many bookings that sales rep book, and what was like the top commodity and the trade routes. So I'm still experimenting with that. So that's one thing. And the next project I'm actually working on is a fully custom depot, inland container depot management. So this is a huge project that I'm working on now for 2 weeks. So I'm really excited about that too. But yeah, happy to answer any questions about how I came to.
Ethan, you have a question?
Yeah, I've got a quick question. So you said that it was about 3 months of building and then 3 months of going back and forth a bit. I'd be curious, did you try starting multiple projects for this? Sometimes I find that starting multiple projects is really helpful because the agent is improving so quickly that sometimes it's actually it's helpful to build from scratch again. I don't know if you've ever.
For me to get it right, it took me 4 tries. And then one of the things that I've learned to develop my own kind of process when I'm building with Replit agent, because again, I'm not a programmer. I don't have any kind of coding background. So one of the first things is try to keep the code, because I don't know how to write lines of code, but I'm a very organized person. And I always instruct agent at the beginning, always have proper filing and kind of modular kind of way of building the code, so that I'm just like how I organize my drive, I'm organizing my repository, I'm organizing my work. So I know exactly where to look with agent at all times to fix an issue, or if I want to push a new feature, then I know exactly where to build. And the second thing, and this has been a game changer, is how I plan with context and how I plan with agent before shipping a feature. I give as much context as I can, and then instead of asking it to build a plan, I ask it first to ask me questions that when I answer those questions, it has like a full picture of the exact requirements that I need and the full context. And then we proceed to building the plan. And then I ask it to execute the plan and follow the plan so it doesn't deviate, doesn't hallucinate. And I just keep track. We both keep track of the progress until we ship the next feature. And it just, Lou mentioned, it's an amazing point. It's an excellent point. Small features, very kind of increments, increments. Every feature takes its own chat, and then you take it one step at a time, and then you go from that very small modular portal all the way to the end goal of the product you want to build.
Nice. Yeah, I think that the more I hear about this, the more I think it would be cool to have an event like this where we go through some of our workflows. Like, how do you approach the beginning of a project? How do you think through? Because, like, Lou, like you're saying, small features, but if you're like, for instance, I want to optimize the page speed, that could be like 10 features, right? And so how do you, like, and maybe you don't know to go in there and figure out how to break those things down. And so I think it would be helpful to go through some of these workflows and to think through some of this stuff publicly and show. So maybe for future follow-on events, we could do things like that where we just get into your workflow, and again, like maybe Hussein builds or maybe Mark builds or maybe Ethan builds one day, and we just sit over your shoulder and work through the thing. Because I think a lot of people who are like, I think a lot of people could probably get further if they had some of those working patterns, let's say, that were successful for folks, especially even if you're not technical. Lou, go ahead.
Just to say something quick,
Yeah.
you can ask the agent to break it down for you before you write the code.
Yep,
so like
sure.
I'm saying that. So if you think you don't know how to do it, you can learn that.
Yeah.
The agent will help you do that. So what I tell people who are trying to learn how to program is like, what programming is taking a big, vague idea and turning it into a sequence of small actions. And that part is still, you still have to do that part. If you try not to do that part, I think it's going to eventually be a mess. It's just that you won't have to, the small action will not have to be literally the syntax of a program.
Yeah.
But
if it's useful for anybody, I have a handful of short codes, like a text replacement type things that I use in the chat all the time. So if I want to talk with the agent, I'll type LTTT, and it's basically let's talk about this. Like, it's just a sequence of letters. And so I have a script that says, hey, don't write any code. Let's just talk about this. I want to help dissecting the. So I have a couple of shortcuts like that when I'm working with the agent, I just add it to the end of the prompt, or it like, and those things help a lot to do exactly what you're saying, Lou, to break this down for me into smaller chunks, or what's the best approach for, like, instead of saying, hey, do this, it's here's what I would like to do. Look at the code base. And again, I turn on extended thinking and the high model, and I say, go look at this stuff and tell me how you would approach this. And it'll usually come back with a plan or two. I'll refine that. And then sometimes I'll even dump that chat because I don't want any of that mixed context in that original conversation. I want to start fresh with exactly what I've identified in this other chat to then put on a screen and be like, okay, here's what we want to do. Let's build it this way. So go ahead, Ethan.
I've actually done similar things where I'll like a project, like some principles of a project, and I will have it create a markdown file of all of the things that I like talking through, maybe it's a styling thing, maybe it's like a UX thing, maybe it's something else. And then I'll use that to actually start a new chat even with Replit Agent. And again, that's more for like quick iteration on prototypes, but like, so it doesn't necessarily apply in Hussein's case for that, but
I've even started
like
thinking
a production app.
I've even started thinking about, again, more like smaller systems. Before the Replit file upload, the bucket storage that they just released as a new feature where you can just give it object storage as like a one-click type thing, the getting like file upload stuff was a challenge. And so I built my own API for that. And so I have a series of apps. I think 4 different apps right now are using a file upload API that I've set up and managed totally separate in Replit. It's not connected to any of the projects. It has its own image optimization. And so any of the apps that I use, I don't have to worry about it building or managing it. It's just use this over here. It created some documentation, and any project I need this video or file upload, I just say use this, and it bakes it into the cake like so nicely. So I think that's, again, another systems thinking type thing where it's like a non-technical person might not think about that, but I'm like, instead of rebuilding this every single time, let me use a system that I might be able to reuse the next time. And I think those are the types of little hacks that are super valuable to folks early on in this space. We have one more presentation. Ethan, I think you're up with your AI, your branded AI tool, if you want to take 5 minutes and show us what you're working on.
Yeah.
And then we'll just close out with whatever conversation after this. I like that last little phase where we're just digging into the nuggets. I think that's where the value is.
All right. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So this is a rehash of a project that I did at my day job. For some context, I'm an AI solutions engineer working at HubSpot. I do miniature, very function focused web applications. And one of the things that some members of the team were looking for was a way to gather both feedback and information on like, how is AI affecting your business? And one of the things that we wanted to do is have it be a branded survey, and have it be more than just like you fill out the survey and then thank you for your response. It has been recorded. And so we wanted like a summary page where it would link out to, it would give you a score, and then it would link out to different resources that would be helpful, because HubSpot has a ton of helpful resources on that front. And then we also wanted that to then help inform how HubSpot enables their customers to better take advantage of AI in their workflows. And so what we came up with was basically a custom web application that was entirely branded. It was like used HubSpot's branding and then their icons and all those things, and then tack on an AI interview at the end. So you'd go through, get your structured data, and then at the end, it'd be a free form where it would allow people to just open up and talk about the problems that they're facing. And it was super valuable, super great feedback on it. It was geared towards a particular audience, and I didn't want to show like obviously the admin side of it. So I just quickly vibe coded an equivalent app of a similar concept. So if there's a couple like bugs, that's just because that wasn't really the focus. This isn't in real production, but it looks pretty similar. You get to this landing page and then you start your assessment. Taking a second. This would have them log into their HubSpot account in the other equivalent app. And then you'll start it. And this is just, for this one, it's just a survey about work. So I'll just fill this out. And then let's see, I have some examples for how it could be filled out that I'll just copy and paste in. And then I will click skills, training, and development. Then I'll do complete survey. And then it'll take me to this AI interview portion. It's great to see how well you're doing managing your stress levels and achieving satisfaction in your work. Can you share a specific instance where your prioritization process made a significant difference in your project outcomes? I just have a bunch of canned responses that I'll just copy in so we can go through this more quickly. But the idea is that you're essentially collecting dynamic feedback. Looks like there's a little bug there. Oh, I think I got rate limited. I set a rate limit for this. I'll just complete the interview. Or maybe not. Yeah, I just rate limited myself. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in real life, would somebody be typing that fast, right?
Yeah. Here, let me stop sharing screen quick and myself.
Yeah, is it using the context of your previous questions for that chat there at the end there?
Yeah.
Got it.
Give me 1 second. So what I did for the actual survey was I also rate limited it, but since I was testing a lot, I must have hit it. Yeah.
Rate limiting is a good thing, though, for those that might not fully know. You do want to rate limit when you can.
Yeah. Okay. So I just selected complete interview. So now what it's done is it's given me a dashboard of overall score 99. So I went through and like in the other survey, there was like 45 questions across a variety of things. It was a little bit more sophisticated. But in this sense, you're able to see very quickly, hey, this is where I'm at. Here's some AI professional analysis, gives you some recommended actions. And then you have like in the real thing, you had you got 2 different views or whatever, and then some resources that were linked in here. And then we also wanted this to be an ongoing thing so that people could take this over time and see how they're improving. And so you could actually have a dashboard so you could go back and look at your previous surveys, look at the previous AI interviews. You can see I've taken it 13 times. But the idea is that we can collect both structured and unstructured data to really know how to enable our customers. And then then I have an admin side that we can look at as well, where you can see like the total number of users that have taken it, set number of assessments, completion rate, gives you a good kind of surveys over time, score distribution. And what's cool is that because you can iterate so quickly, it was very much, I was kind of like the soccer game. It was like I was being handheld of what does my end user want? And so in this case, the admin side, I was frequently messaging on Slack of, hey, what are you looking for on the admin side? And he was like, hey, can I have this feature? Can I see this? Can I export the data in this format? And it really just made it super easy to iterate on. So
how have you found working with, are you just basically feeding this stuff into OpenAI with a key and it's just like reading the conversation and coming back and forth? Or is there like a deeper context? I've built some AI stuff, and one of the things I wish, like in a dream world, if I'm working with the agent, I would love to build the application and then open up some kind of visual builder to like visually map the UI flow of the AI conversation and customize prompts and have a little bit more guardrails. I know you can do that stuff with JSON, and you can like have agents have processes and blah, blah. There's like lots of technical stuff on the back end you can do with the AI. But I found that like sometimes it's difficult for the agent to have customized prompts or extra context or other things. It would be really cool if like when I wired something up to an AI, I could then open up this Lindy style or this like workflow management style thing that allow me to build the AI workflow and then plug that back into the logic of the app. That would be such a dream.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how you tackle that is all I'm asking. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done things like that in the past where it's like I give it objectives. So in the system prompt, and it wasn't as sophisticated as like making it in each scenario you have a different system prompt. It was more, hey, you need to collect this information. Here are like basically give a very structured system prompt. So then while it's talking to the person, it is looking for those things. And then once it gets that information, let's say they respond in an unstructured way, it will extract that, put it into an XML format or something, and then I'll just kick that to the database. And then it doesn't feel as robotic.
Right.
So yeah, something on like the super sophisticated, like mapping out all of those scenarios, not necessarily, but you can get pretty dang far with a really good system prompt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I usually use Claude or ChatGPT, usually Claude, honestly, on system prompts, where I guess I could use Replit Agent. I often feel like it's a little bit easier to iterate directly in the chatbot UI with Claude or whatever. But then I'll feed that to the agent and say, hey, can you have this be the system prompt?
Yeah. I built this tool that was like pulling my bookmarks from X and auto tagging and then auto summarizing. And I was like sending the images and the tweet body and all this stuff. And one of the things that I had a really hard time doing was I wanted to not just have like my system prompt. I wanted the user to be able to define their system prompt. So it's like I wanted to tell it something, but then in the UI, I wanted the user to be able to customize that system prompt. And then I wanted the agent to send not just our system prompt, but then the user system prompt and the content with that stuff. And I just found myself like like I got it working, but not as good as it could have been. And like I would have loved to build on top of that. And I was like, oh, there's no way to build on top of this because it already hardly knows what it's doing. So
Yeah.
those are the types of things where it's like, some more visual UI on top of those workflows for ding dongs like me that aren't computer science nerds.
That's a good point, though. Sorry to cut you off, Ethan.
No, go.
This is something that's coming up across a lot of, and pretty much all AI products that are being developed is how do you evaluate the quality of the output? And something that I think the industry and people are figuring out on their own. In a couple of other conversations that I've been in different communities, this is something that people are trying to solve for across the ecosystem entirely. So it's going to be really interesting to see how we all solve this together. And I'm sure some standardized tools and resources will come out to do that. But that's definitely something that I think we're all going to be faced with at some point, evaluate the quality of the output.
And then just even getting the right format back from the AI, it's like you can tell it to give you a JSON string and you can do certain things. But for instance, I was trying to get it to do tags and it was like, okay, I don't want hyphenated tags, but I don't want 2-word tags. And sometimes it would like just ignore those things and come back. So like you're talking about that consistency. And there was no good way for me to troubleshoot that in the agent because it's like I'm trying to have the agent do a thing that like I could understand. I even think some of the logic workflows could be interesting to see visualized like that too. Because the other thing that the agent gets caught up in often, I think, is like making duplicate API requests. So it's like, I already have a route or I already have an API request and the agent doesn't know because the context is over here. So it's like just rebuilds it all the way over here. And now I have 2 things doing the exact same thing where it's like, I know I don't need that, but I didn't remind you in this prompt. And now I didn't notice that this thing happened. And so like now there's 2 ways to check whether somebody's an admin or check what accounts they're a part of or whatever. And those are the types of things where I think you start getting into the spaghetti code of the vibe code stuff that there could be guardrails or there could be things that help us know and see and shape the way the agent sees that stuff.
This might be a little bit more geared towards like power users, but I definitely find Codex is really good at optimizing the back end, which is like OpenAI's command line interface tool. That's been really helpful to avoid that. And I actually, one of my apps had a couple hundred users and it was costing me a lot of money. And I was like, there's got to be a way that it would cost less. And so I had Codex go in and optimize the back end. And now it's like maybe 20% of the cost that it was running.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be interesting to dive in. And by the way, we are officially at the end of our like formal structure. So if you guys want to hang and chat with us, I'm down to hang and just get into the weeds a little bit about technical stuff. But if you also need to go or want to bail out, feel free. There's not going to be any other further presentations from here. But yeah, we can just devolve into whatever kind of conversation we want to jump into about this. But yeah, and now I forgot the piece I was going to say as a response to exactly what you were talking about. I lost my train of thought.
We're just talking. Yeah, that always happens. I think I was talking about optimizing backend. You were talking about spaghetti code.
What I was going to say is that I haven't done it recently, but I have. So I have this browser extension that I built that allows people to download audio from x.com, their X spaces. And it's probably one of the simplest things I've ever built. And it's by far the most popular. There's 5,000 plus people have it downloaded, and it's like hundreds of daily active users downloading Twitter Spaces. And then I have this dashboard in Replit. So I built the extension in Cursor, and I built the dashboard in Replit. So there's these 2 disconnected environments. And I'm wondering, like, has anybody played with being in Replit, push to GitHub, open it up in another tool, do some stuff, push it back to GitHub, bring it back into Replit, and using a multifaceted approach to solving some of that's what when you were talking about Codex updating the back end. I'm wondering, like, has anybody experimented with doing some of that or cross-pollinating their environments or bringing a project in from somewhere else and having the agent try to tinker with it? Like, those types of things are interesting to me. How are people solving problems like that?
I think definitely anyone that wants to unmute, please do, or put it in chat. But I was talking with someone recently last week, and they're actually doing that, but they're doing it for a different use case. They're doing it for team collaboration. So they have all of their code synced to GitHub, and everybody's working off of different various branches. And then they're using Replit as essentially like a front end, their IDE, their cloud-based IDE, and they're collaborating on that. And I know that Replit's building the team's features, the project's features, and so forth. But what I thought was interesting is that they found a bit of a workaround, I think, if you will, by just syncing the code elsewhere and working on it. Now, it might not be exactly the same kind of a use case you're talking about, ingesting it into other tools, but I know that will be something, and we saw in the chat earlier, people are asking about, what if I want to take my code and how portable is it if I want to export it and put it somewhere else and try it in a different engine or try it in a different ecosystem or platform? I think that will be something that is it right now is a little bit more technical, and I think it takes a little bit more tech experience potentially, and you could be prone for some error if you're not careful. But I do think in the future, the tools and resources will continue to get better and people's knowledge will just get better in general.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the first thing I ever did in Replit is I was working on a project with a development team on some stuff that like I never thought I'd have input on. And I was struggling with design stuff because the developer that was working on it is just not super design forward. And so it was very functional, but I was like all these little nuances that I was like, oh, what if it could just, and over here, and like wanted to stand over the developer's back, be like, just move this over here and do the thing. But no developer ever wants to have that person over their shoulder, no matter how much they're paying. And so for me to be able to open that up in Replit and go in, and it was only just UI stuff and front end stuff, but I was able to push and submit that. And I'm like, holy shit, I made my first commit. Like I made my first GitHub commit. And I was like, I'm a developer now. Not really, but right. And I contributed to a project that I never thought I was going to ever be able to like actually meaningfully contribute to. And that was a cool thing. So that's the type of experiences that I wonder, again, like they're happening all over, but what's the implication of that? What's that mean long term? And then how do you, I couldn't do the back end stuff. It would have been really cool. So like how long before I'm not just making those front end UI changes, I'm like actually working with that team to do the server stuff. I think right now I've been sandboxed by my technical folks. So you can play over there, but don't touch stuff over here. You know, so it's kind of funny.
As a side note for like the using different tools, I would really recommend that, and this is just me, but I really recommend trying out V0 by Vercel for design iteration. That's usually how I will approach a project. I will go to Vercel. I don't even pay for it yet. I probably should, but I haven't even gotten through the free tier limits, and it's like $5. And they have they're really integrated well with ShadCN, and so they have a really good UI.
Interesting. So. Yeah, I have not. Has anybody experimented with the import into Replit with the like the Figma or the other? I haven't really played with that, but it seems like it'd be really cool if I could just give a front end UI design system to the agent and just be like, hey, natively, this is the design thing I want to use. It's all handled. It's perfect. Just wire up the back end. That would be amazing.
What I did.
Chime in on that. Oh,
go ahead, man.
Yeah, I was just saying I can chime in on that. So I use another system similar to V0 and Vercel. There's another platform called Aura.new for all my UI UX design. So I build out the base and the framework in Replit for the application. And once I get it to the level in terms of functionality that I'm satisfied with, then all I do is go into Aura.new, have a sort of a beginner account, and you can browse through created vibe coded designs, and you can just simply just export the HTML code, and then I just vibe code in Replit and say, okay, now that we've completed the functionality, here is HTML code for the UI, for my desired UI UX. And I found that it works. It pulls the UI across almost like 95, maybe 97% of the time accurate, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Because I find with Replit, typically, when you just vibe code from Replit, you get a similar type of UI UX. Especially if you're used to seeing vibe coded sites, you get the same sort of vanilla white background, the sidebar, the blue buttons. It sticks to this default UI, and using these other tools externally and bringing them into Replit works wonders. Works amazing.
Yeah, coming from the Webflow world and being spoiled with this, I want to fully control exactly what the front end looks like in code type experience. and now working in Replit and having it just spit out these things and then wanting to like even just move a block. I want this here now. I want to flip the 2 columns, or I want to just move little things. Like the nuance that's required to get these little UI updates is so like frustrating for me, knowing how good some of these front end tools are, that I would like, yeah, I don't know. I would love to see, again, give me some kind of Replit style backend interface that then opens up into something where I can isolate my components and style them right there. Just get into that one little component and just tweak that design and know that, okay, I'm editing the tailwind or whatever's going into that, but have a little bit more nuanced control of the front end. I can't imagine how many like credits I've spent like on what I demoed today, just trying to get that to look nice. Because for me, I'm a designer. For me, like I come from a design and art background. I want the application to look beautiful. I don't want it to look like it's clumsy, hacked together bubble app. I want this to look like it's a beautiful, seamless, modern piece of software that people are using. And that probably half the time I spend is just getting the UI tight, which again is perfect in Replit. I don't want to say perfect. It's great because using screenshots has been like such a hack. Using screenshots, marking things up, having the agent be able to see, hey, let me take a screenshot of this and show it. Here's how it is now. I'll mark it up and then I'll mock up what it should look like and give it a TL draw wireframe of what I want it to do. And it will typically handle what I want versus me trying to like just type it all out or actually describe the UI update. But things like UI updates are just not meant for code, like natural language code. Like those types of updates just don't translate.
Yeah, one thing that I've been working on is hashing out like my own style guides, particularly because I work at a company that has like very strong branding.
Your books are color organized. Design. I understand. You pay attention to design.
And that's been super useful, like basically, especially if I want consistent coloring across projects. I think there were some discussions around like Replit agent eventually being able to access like a brand folder or something. But yeah, like copying and pasting similar flushed out style guides I found is super helpful.
Yeah.
I'd propose this as a future topic that we discuss with this community, because this is something that I see come up in this context, in this conversation, in other communities that I'm involved in too. Something that is common across all the vibe code tools and platforms is, how can I take something that I envision, this design, or maybe an existing design that I have already worked on, and bring it in. Yes, I know the importers exist, but people's results are not completely aligning with their expectation versus the actual result seems to vary quite a bit. And so that would be something interesting to see. If I saw Ruth in the chat talking about it, and Aura's been mentioned a few different times. So it'd be interesting to see if that'd be something we could have somebody show us some point. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Lou raised your hand. What?
Yeah, so I just wanted to chime in that this exact problem already existed between designers and developers.
Sure.
For a long time. And there have been patterns of solutions that we use that I think could help. So one, obviously having some sort of documented design system. And by that, I mean like a palette of colors, the fonts and when they're used, what your border radius is, what your typical grid is, like all of that defined such that I could take any picture, not pixel perfect or whatever, just any napkin picture. And if you apply the design system to it, it would look exactly how you want. That's a key step to getting this to work. And so you can replicate that with AI and your notes file. But instead of asking the AI to build your UI right from scratch, build your design system first and try out the components separately in a playwright or something that allows you to just see the components isolated. And then when you've got that done, now your layouts are just going to be putting them down and they're going to be perfect in there. And the code will be separate. So when you change the design, you're not mucking with the other code that could possibly be changed by the AI. It knows only to change those design files. So using the structuring that Hussein was talking about and using those ideas from
Yeah, and that seems like that would be a great use case if you knew what you were building. When I think a lot of times what we're building in Vibe Code, it's like, for instance, this thing that I demoed today, like I had no idea what that full app was going to be or what it was going to look like as I'm building it. I started piecemealing things together and started, hey, what if it could do this and then this? And then I'm like, oh, okay, now that you unify that like this. And so you're like sculpting it in real time versus, hey, you have a full product spec and we're just going to build this product that's been designed and scoped out. Like those are two, I think, different paths that get to two different places for sure.
I guess I would just say, think about the separation. Don't worry about the design yet then.
Yeah.
But if it's separated, build with plain black rectangles. It doesn't really matter. Those plain black rectangles are separated
Right.
in their own file and not enmeshed with the same code that builds like the innards of that thing.
Got it. Yep.
Therefore can't be understood separately by you, a person, or the AI. Like so.
Yep. All right. I think there's a bunch of good topics for conversations there. I think for future chats, it would be cool to maybe do a few smaller in between sessions. Let's build, and then maybe another month or two from now or whatever, we do another showcase to maybe continue the conversation or see what else folks have built or where some of the products have come. A part of me also thinks that the building is the fun part, and there's lots of people that are going to be focused to like the build side of this, but the taking it to market and having folks help with accountability for, hey, did you talk to new customers this week? What are you doing for marketing? Have you been active with talking to people that could actually buy this app? What's your pricing strategy? Those types of conversations around not just building the thing, but taking it to market is something where I would like to spend my time focusing. And I would love to have like other folks who are building in this space that want to be around people tinkering and like maybe get feedback. Can we get to the place where if you ship a product, like we got your first 100 users, no problem. Could we build a small group that when you're tinkering with something and you're like, hey, I just vibe coded this thing, is there a place we could share it? And just know that 20 people are going to log in, test it out, run it through its paces, give you some feedback, and then we'll catch up at a future session to talk about that type of thing. So that's the stuff I'm experimenting with or thinking about as the next phase of this. Lou and I are going to get together in 2 weeks to do a session like that. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but yeah, I'll invite everyone who was at this session to come and know about that, and we'll share about this thing moving forward. So I don't expect this to die here, is I guess what I'm saying is that I plan on doing more of these things moving forward. Yeah. Any thoughts, questions, things you'd like to see, feel free to share them. You can connect with us on X. Go create an account on that audience owned platform. Maybe we'll start using that as a home base for sharing some of these projects. That'd be really cool. That'd be cool to dog food some of our own work. So if there's things that we can build to serve the needs of the group, like we can do that too. But yeah, I think that's about it. We're right at the top of the 2 hours here. It's been great having everybody. Does anybody else have any thoughts, closing thoughts? Mark, Ethan, any final words you want to say before we wrap out of here?
I guess the final thing I'd say is thanks for pulling us all together, Raimar, and I've learned so much from everybody here, and I know that we can all kind of help elevate each other and learn and grow. So
yeah,
looking forward to continuing the conversation.
I see a question. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And thanks for your support. And Mark and Ethan have both been super helpful to me, just even before we knew each other or were doing any of this, just answering questions. And I think that's one of the things you'll see in these communities. It was the same with the Webflow world, and I imagine it'll be similar in this, is that so many of us are like, it's so new to have this superpower that we're all so helpful, and we're like, hey, lots of people know this stuff. So like most people, when they start learning these things, just want to share. So if you have questions or thoughts, like there is a Replit builders community in Slack. There's the discourse channel. There's like lots of places, but maybe we can start organizing some of those things. And I'm seeing like, what is the process to present? Gordon asked here in the questions. We're going to leave that same form open. And I think I'm going to put that Replit builders little landing page up, and maybe we can just have it. So that'll be a place where if anybody wants to showcase something, you can just submit to showcase there. We'll have links to the next project, whatever calendar. So it'll be our bulletin board for some of this stuff. And so, yeah, we'll just start organizing around that. We've got all your emails. We've got Luma. So we'll try to get a hold of everybody for the next event and just keep this on everybody's radar. Ethan, did you have anything else to add to the mix?
Just echoing what Mark was saying. Thanks, Raymar, for organizing this. I think this is exactly the future that I think will be super helpful for me, for everyone else involved. It's like seeing what other people are building, talking about these tools, asking questions, and we'll be able to help each other out. I think of this like Excel back when I come from a finance background, back when Excel came out and people were doing things with pen and paper and they were adding things up and doing all these different things. And then Excel comes and you can do the work of 1,000 accountants and bookkeepers and make them way more effective with like charts and graphs and all these things. And I think that these tools are just like that, where you still need to learn how to use them, but they're so useful. And so being able to ask for shortcuts, for tips and tricks, I think that's super useful.
Yep. And I just shared that little billboard in the chat. If anybody wants to bookmark that, we'll keep posting things to that. And then whenever we figure out whatever the official, I love the Slack, but the problem with the free Slacks is everything's gone after 90 days. So it's like nobody can go back and see the archive of stuff in that Slack channel. So I don't think that's a long-term solution, that Slack channel, that unfortunately, as good as it is, it would be cool if it was like in Discord or something else where, the conversations won't get archived every 90 days because they want $5 a user from Slack. So anyway, stay tuned, bookmark that. We'll be in touch with more events and other things around town. If you are in Sarasota, join us on the third Thursday of every month. We have an in-person networking event where we've been getting hundreds of folks showing up to different events around town for tech stuff. If you are not in Sarasota, you should come visit. It's a beautiful place. Otherwise, join our digital events and we'll continue to do stuff like this. And thanks everybody for showing up. This was a great event. Appreciate everyone here. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.
Recording stopped.
All right. Yeah. And then we'll end the meeting. Thanks, everyone. We'll close the room now and we'll post this on YouTube shortly. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.